Welcome to the Voices of Extension, where we explore how research meets community needs through education, engagement, and collaboration. Today, we are joined by two exceptional guests from University of Illinois, whose work sits at the intersection of environmental science, policy, and public outreach.
Yes, Rashmi. Today we honored to welcome Ms. Jamini Balsot, Extension Horticulture Educator at the University of Illinois. Jamini develops, delivers, and evaluates research-based programming on wide range of topics including home and community horticulture, food systems, pollinators, composting, and sustainable gardening. She works to improve food access and build community resilience through education and outreach.
Also with us, Ms. Darcy Weber, the Natural Resources, Environment and Energy Extension Educator for Livingston, McLean and Woodford counties. With a passion for accessible and culturally relevant education, she bridges science and community. Her work exemplifies how extension can transform knowledge into practice. So, together we'll unpack what extension means and how it connects science to the real world problems, why it matters, and where it is headed next. So, starting with the basics, what does extension mean to each of you, and what extension in the context of the University of Illinois?
Extension is really a great component of university, and we have an extension for each state, but our extension specifically is a really great hand of education to the local community. And so we are based in local residences to work with the everyday learner, whether that's adult or youth, and we get to take the research from campus, from our professors and our researchers, and bring that into the local communities on our own land.
And so to add on to what Darcy said, Extension is really the outreach arm of the university. So we like to take the research to develop real world solutions to problems that people in our communities are facing. And so each county, each community is really different. And so with Extension educators, we can really tailor solutions to specific problems that communities have.
Yeah. After that insightful answer, the next question is for you, Ms. Darcy Weber. Can you share an example of collaboration between researchers and extension officers that led to real-world challenge?
Yes, we have a number of wonderful specialists and researchers that are tied to extension in University of Illinois. And so one project that they've been working on recently, the past few years, is agrovoltaics. And so what this project is looking to do is how can we combine energy and multiple uses of farming into more sustainable practices. And so, for example, they're trying to grow corn while also using solar energy on that same land. And so in my communities, we have really great solar projects and wind energy projects to help enhance our renewable energy sources. And so by working with the researchers, learning what they're doing, we can then share that with our local communities and make a larger impact to care for our natural resources and our local lands in the best way possible. And so part of my job is energy education. And so working to help educate local communities, whether that's youth or adults. I've worked with a few different companies, and so we were able to create a coloring book on solar education and why the sun matters. And so we can help educate about renewable energy and green infrastructure in different ways.
So is there any platform where you can find more information on that project?
Yes, it's on our website. The project is, agrovoltaics, and it has, I can send you the link to add to the show notes or however that works. But yes, it's online.
That's great. What a good example. So, Ms. Balsad, looking ahead, what do you see as the biggest opportunities and challenges for the future of extension, and how the future of extension will be?
That's a really good question. I think there's so many opportunities when you're working directly with community. If you're going door to door and being hands-on with people, that's the only real way that you'll understand what needs they have, whether it comes to flooding in their neighborhoods or food access, not having access to fresh fruits and vegetables. So I think there's a lot of opportunities to work directly with people when you can meet them where they're at. That is a challenge because we are just, individual people that work all over the state. So communication can be a challenge, especially with new technologies coming out and, new generations communicating in different ways than older generations have. And so being adaptable to those challenges and changes is going to be really important for us as we grow in our education.
So working with different generations can be very sensitive, right?
Yes.
Do you have any example for that?
Yeah, so sometimes, I work with both adults and with youth. And so, older adults, maybe they're not on their computers, they don't know how to use their phone. They do a lot more direct education. So older adults will come to my classes if I teach them at a local community garden or at a local library, whereas opposed to kind of younger people, they're getting more of their information on their phone, on social media. And so how can we adapt our communication to reach both of these populations that learn in very, very different ways?
Okay, moving into next question. How do you adapt complex scientific information to make it accessible to non-expert audiences?
Yeah, thank you for that question. That is really a kind of the essence of what we do. And so I think about that question all the time. As university extension professionals, our job is to really take that complex information and to break it down so people can understand it and use it in their daily lives. And so I think I could say an example of how I've done that before. And so I teach a multi-week class on composting that's geared towards people who do composting in their backyards or in their neighborhoods. And when you think of composting, you can find so much information about that in books or on websites. But in order to go in really deeply to understand the complex scientific process that's happening, I think you really have to kind of work together to be able to do the program and to do the education and understanding in a cyclical process or an iterative process. And so I work a lot with other educators where we'll plan and design a program together. We do a lot of pilot programs as well. So with our evaluation information, we'll do the pilot, we'll get the evaluation, and then really break down the kind of concepts that we're trying to teach. And then we're constantly improving our programs. And so I don't think you can get it right just doing it once. I think you have to practice and you have to get feedback from people about what they understand and what knowledge they're taking from the class that you're teaching.
I think it's also helpful to have multiple forms of how you teach. So whether that's the hands-on demonstrations or you're giving a lecture, whether you have activities in the classroom, whether you're providing audio like podcasts for them to learn from, and just providing these different ways to build their knowledge and understanding of different concepts that we're receiving from the researchers or just learning in our local offices as well.
Okay, so the last question. For students or early career professionals, what advice would you give about getting involved in extension and making a difference through public engagement?
So I got through extension in really non-traditional way. So I started doing my research thinking that I would become a professor and be doing research for the rest of my career. But I really followed my passion for environmental issues and connecting that to people and the benefits that people will get from it. And so for young professionals who are interested in extension, I would advise you to just try something new because you never know where it's going to lead, and kind of be okay with making mistakes because there's not a real kind of framework or textbook on how to do this work because each community is really different and sometimes you'll make mistakes. And so you have to learn to kind of be okay with that.
I think it's helpful too to encourage these young professionals to get out into their communities, to learn those needs, to see what gaps they can help fill with their education. And so really having those personal connections to help launch you into your career and to know what directions you want to go and what problems you want to be tackling can be helpful.
So with that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you so much, Ms. Jamini Balsort and Ms. Darcy Weber, for sharing your insight, experiences, and vision for Extension Can Be.
for our audience, whether you are an educator, a student, or just curious about university outreach, we hope you have gained a deeper appreciation for the role of extension in creating change.
Keep learning, stay engaged, and remember the knowledge we share has the power to transform lives. Thank you.